something in the chat. Okay, thank you. Guys, please raise your virtual hand or type something in the chat. I need confirmation from you guys to start the things. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good. So let's continue. Now, further if we talk about the authentication process, how authentication gets done, we provide the credential. In a credential, we provide the username and password. So there are certain problems with the password-based authentication. If we go with the easy password, those are easier to compromise, easier to guess. Those are easy to guess. And if we go with a strong password, hard to memorize, hard to remember, we forget that. So we have been given a new way that is called passwordless authentication. With this one, as its name suggests, password is replaced with the something we know, something we are, like a fingerprint or face scan, something we have, like some device we do have, device specific pin we are using, or like the software we do have on our mobile, like authenticator. So in place of using the password for the authentication purpose, we are using some other information. One example, here we do have, that's a Windows Hello for Business, where we use the biometric fingerprint if device is compatible, or we use the PIN credentials, which are directly tied to the machine used by the user. So that whole approach prevents access from anyone other than the owner of that. In place of that, we can go to the FIDO security key, which is stored in a USB stick. So that's something which is unphishable, standard-based passwordless authentication method. So we can configure this Windows for Hello Business and go with a passwordless authentication rather than going with a password. So demonstrations, if we talk about navigation part, we have already done. Let me give you the licensing in Azora, group part and all that stuff. So here we are. Press the Azure Active Directory, and we have been given a search bar here where we can search anything. Search bar is quite robust. Plus, hamburger is there. The horizontal line. When we click on it, we get the option to create the resource. Home page is there. If we have created any dashboard, we can land on that dashboard as well from this place, where we can look at the information whatever we have placed on that dashboard. Plus the services we do have available here. Favorite tray is there where we can place the resources which we want to look at. Let's say here I frequently go in a resource group, I can place that resource group here, or I don't go in a resource group, I can remove that here. Means this favorite bar is the one which we can customize as per business requirement. Business requirement means every user has a different role, different job to do in our organization. So as per his or her role, whatever the resources or the pages he or she need to access can be placed on a favorite bar. Like here I removed resource group. I do not go in a functions. I do not want to see that here. I can just mark it as a. Now I can remove it from this favorite list. If I need to add something here, I can go in all resources and I can do the same job. Oh, sorry, not all resources. Sorry, not all services can go. So looks like my system is slow. Am I audible properly, guys? Am I? Am I audible properly? Yes. Okay. So I can go all services and whatever the service I want to see in a favorite bar, I can just mark it as well. Let's say data analysis or data engineer, I can just put it data factory, data breaks, or data lake, something let's say here in compute. I want to see Kubernetes, so the preparators, container app, VMSS, where is that? Yeah, VMSS. So whatsoever you need to see, you can just put it now, preparatory. And in what order you want to see, you can just arrange that stuff as well. We have been given a managed virtual machine here that gives us the PowerShell and Bash Shell console. And yeah, that's a per account managed virtual machine. When we click it on first time, we get the option for the same. We did know that stuff. Again, create the machines and then whichever the interface we want to see, we can just go to that. There are some other options given in there, notification options we see here, any kind of a notification given by, like a resource is deployed or something, you can get that stuff here. Like we got the one error when we tried to verify the domain name. As it was not registered, means DNS propagation was not done for that name, so this is why we got the error. So you can see all detail here, plus setting option is there. Okay, let's go in an Active Directory. We get the Active Directory blade here in a favorite tray if you have not customized it. Or rather than going here and there, you can simply trust on Active Directory. Search on this search bar. You can trust on search bar. I'm sorry. Go in there and type something like here we are searching Active Directories. We want to go in Active Directory, so I type Active over there. For the option, click on it. Now we are in Active Directory blade. You have seen already this. We can create a user account, group account. We can see the roles available over there. When we click on a specific role, we can see how many users it has been assigned to. Or reverse way, we can click on the user account and we can check it out. What role has been assigned? What role have been assigned to that particular user in an Active Directory? That ARM role means the role assigned for the downside of the hierarchy can be different. So, as I discussed, two types of the role are there: Azure role and AD role. Azure role gives the access on the subscriptions or the management group. AD role gives the access on Active Directory. So here in Active Directory, you see assigned role page for the user. The role assigned, Azure Active Directory role assigned to that user, you can see that stuff. Okay. Or you can click on that user, click on the role as well, and then you can see the assignment, how many users this role has been assigned. Two way. MFA is the another thing which I need to define here. So now I need to demonstrate. MFA, I believe everyone knows. Can anyone help me with that? What MFA is? If you can tell the full form, it's a multi-factor authentication. Anyone please? What MFA is? That's a full form. Anything else other than the full form?
Yeah, like we are using the secure ID or RSA.
Okay, two-step verification process. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, Siva. So, multi-factor authentication concept explains itself. How we authenticate based on the username and password. If any other information is being asked to authenticate, that is a multi-factor authentication. How it works? It works on the basis of something we know, something we are, something we have. So other than the username and password, if anything else is being asked, that's a MFA. How we configure it? Do we have what is the requirement of MFA? So as far as the straightforward MFA is concerned, we get it in a free edition of Active Directory as well. Like right now, I do have a free edition, and I can go in a user blade, and there I'll get the option of per user MFA. If you have a small size of a screen, you do not see this per user MFA. You will see ellipses, 3 dots. Click on that 3 dots, those 3 dots, and then you'll get the option of per user MFA. Click on it, and here you have the option. You select the user and enable MFA for that. Let's say this is the user account I created here. We can just enable MFA for that user. Okay, enable, and then for the Rick gonna register what method he or she want, and then every time when that user log in, you have the option for this. If we have been given a, or if we are using the premium license, we get the one more option here that is called enforce. So enable and enforce. So could you please differentiate what enable is or what enforce is? Anyone? What is the difference between enable and enforce? Anyone, please?
I think enforce will be like forcing the user to accept the MFA, and enable and disable will be based on the administrator.
Okay, thank you. So when we go with enable, that's a recommended. And if we go with the enforce, obviously as its name suggests, that is required, not recommended. Every time user sign in, that identity sign in, MF has to be performed. But for enforce, we should have the premium edition of Active Directory. So you can enable that. Let's say here I'm going to enable for this user Rick. Now, further when this user will log in, let me open Edge. Login here, portal.azure.com. Responsive. Am I audible, guys? point is responding. Thank you, Amit. Machine become unresponsive that time. So let me just log in and up here. Portal is there, and this is the next protocol. Thanks creating the problem. So let me sign out and sign in. Wanted to save the time. But as it's taking time for me. Okay, so here I can log in. Now, last time I logged in, set the password. Okay, as we have enable MFA, so it is asking you need to provide some further information, some more information along with the username and password. Okay, so set up the method, whatever the authentication method I want to go with, like Microsoft Authenticator app or phone number. I'm just going to select your country, your number, where you want to get the OTP, or on that you want to get the call. So whenever you will log in, there will be a OTP sent on your mobile. Then, so depending on the method you configured for the authentication, it's gonna ask you to confirm that. Like here, I provided my mobile number, and then every time I log in, it will ask me to provide that OTP unless I mark this device trusted. Okay. There is one more option. Amber mentioned that conditional access. So right now, this is the straightforward MFA. I enable MFA, user gonna log in, and then gonna provide gonna perform whatever the method we have gone with, like OTP sent on mobile or notification sent on authentication app, authenticator app. Okay. So that you have to perform that all this stuff whenever you log in. But sometimes straightforward MFA might not be good for your organization. People ask sometimes why, because every time user log in performing MFA, you may have something non-critical thing, even user accessing something non-critical. MFA is being performed. You want MFA should come in the picture when it is required, and in some cases it should not be there. It should not. It should be. It should be the plain authentication. I would say authentication based on username and password. So for that, we have been given another feature, another concept that is called conditional access, which Amber mentioned in a checkbox. That is going to define the if and that is going to define the if and then statement. We can define if that's the case, do this. If that is this is the case, do that. So that is something more advanced, and we need a premium license for that. That is not possible in a free editions of Active Directory. We're gonna talk about that stuff later. So let's proceed further. Licensing part, I cover that. If you have the license, you can assign the license to the user. Go there and how we can assign that? You go in a user account, and then we get the option for the same Active Directory and user. Whichever the user you need to assign the premium license, you go and select that user, or you can do the same for the group account as well. And here we do have, let's say I need to assign the license to the user. I go in this user blade, and there we do have the license. But obvious, we must have that license available. Click on assignment, and then we're going to select this. Right now, no assignment is there. The lab you'll get the premium license in there. But if you have your own Active Directory and you want to evaluate the premium license, you have the license page. I have talked about that. You can go in all products, and there you can enable the license. Then further, you can assign that. There is one more point. When you assign the license to the user, you have to specify the usage location of that user. I created a Rick user account, didn't define anything other than the first name and last name. So if I assign the license to the user now, it's going to give me an error. So defining the usage location is something must. Then only we can assign the license. So it is slow for me only. There and assign the license. Active Directory, there that's a place you can assign enable the license. But on one Active Directory instance, only one time we can enable the license. It gives me an error because I have already enabled this license on this instance. Okay. Further, you can have that identity protections, conditional access, dynamic group, identity governance, and all that. Let's proceed further. Hybrid identities. Okay. So that's the another type of the identities we have been given. Like when we were talking about user account, we have a cloud users and then hybrid users. So not just the users, the other identities like devices and all that stuff also can be hybrid. So how are we going to have that hybrid user account or hybrid identities? So as I said, my organization has one on-premises infra, on-premises Active Directory already. That's a ADDS, and the name of that is something, let's say, adatum.com. Okay. Lately, organization decided to purchase or move on a cloud infra. They purchased some cloud applications. So let's say Azure subscription they purchased, or M365 they purchased. We get the Active Directory along with that. We have talked about that. There will be a tenant, and that tenant is going to have the name that will be something xyz.onmicrosoft.com. Additional name can be given because you want to have your own name suffix. That is something called custom domain name. So even we have added a custom domain name, same as the on-premises adatum.com, that will be like two people have the same name. These are the two different instances. Different objects are there. The employees we do have, the group accounts we do have, the devices we do have here. Let's say 2,000 employees are there. And these guys gonna use the cloud application hosted here. So we need to have the credential of these guys. So one way is like recreate that, which will be a time-consuming job, and user gonna have the trouble to carry the full credentials. So rather than going with that approach, which is not recommended. So what we do, we synchronize the object from on-premises to Azure Active Directory. And how we do that? For that, we have been given one tool that is known as Azure AD Connect. That's an installer. We download it. We can download it from Azure Active Directory Blade, or we can download it from Microsoft Download Center. Okay. And then further, we can install it on one of the machine which is a member of that on-premises domain. Okay. Recommendation is we should not install it on the DC, but in a lab environment it is okay. You can go with that. But for production one, that shouldn't be DC. Okay. But we can install it on a DC as well. Sometimes people have the impression we cannot install on the DC. Yes, we can, but this is not a recommended one. So install it. That's the one requirement. Installer need to be there that we can download from Microsoft Download Center. And further, what we have to do, we have to configure that. At the time of configurations, there are some prerequisites we need to have. First thing is we need 2 user accounts. When we say user accounts, 2. Why? We need 2 user accounts because Azure AD Connect will now work as an intermediate. It need to connect with Azure Active Directory, need to connect with on-premises Active Directory. So this is why it need 2 different user accounts. One will be cloud user account, and that cloud user account should have the global admin privilege. And there is a one on-premises account as well. On-premise ADDS account. And that ADDS account should have the enterprise admin privilege. If it is specific domain only, then can be a domain user account as well. Okay, so we're gonna provide that stuff at the time of configuration. We're gonna provide the user account and all that. The other thing we define in there, that is called authentication method. So these objects will be hybrid object. Means will be placed in on-premises, will be available in on-premises and available in Azure Active Directory as well. So there may be a confusion here, or there may be a question, not the confusion. If the user, let's say there is one user here in on-premises environment, rick@adatum.com, and that guy has been synchronized to Azure Active Directory. Further, this user, rick@adatum, which is created or which has been created in on-premises environment, accessing some cloud application. Who will perform authentication? Azure Active Directory going to perform authentication, or this on-prem Active Directory going to perform authentication? So that is something depend on authentication method we select. Can be PTA, PHS, and all that stuff. So let's talk about that. What it is, what type of the authentications we do have, that all this stuff we're going to talk about in this lesson. Azure AD Connect, one alternate option we have been given in there, that is called Cloud Syncs. What are the authentication methods? So let's talk about that. So Azure AD Connect is the tool which integrate our on-premises Active Directory with Azure Active Directory. Synchronize the object. We can synchronize all the object, or we can synchronize the subset of the object we do have in on-premises environment. The object in a specific OU we want to synchronize, or all the object we have in a domain we want to synchronize them all. Once those are synchronized, we'll be able to use those objects, so I would say users or identities, to access cloud resources if RBAC has been configured for them. But post synchronization, they will be able to log in on a portal.azure.com or portal.office.com. What job they will be able to perform? Totally based on RBAC. We're going to manage RBAC, we're going to use RBAC same as we were managing for the cloud users. We're going to provide the feature that is called synchronization. We're going to synchronize the object. Free tool, download it, install it, and then configure that. There are different authentication options available: PHS, PTA. There is one more, federation. So requirement I talked about, installer, and then domain member machine need to be there. We're gonna install it on domain member machine. Shouldn't be DC, but in a lab environment it is okay. As far as the authentication method is concerned, 3 authentication methods are there. So if I talk about the first one, PHS, which is stand for password hash synchronization. In case of password hash synchronization, what it's gonna do, it's gonna synchronize the user account, and along with the user account, it's gonna synchronize the password as well. Not the plain password, it's gonna synchronize the hash value of the password. So whenever that user access any cloud application, Azure Active Directory will see, oh, this user is from on-premises, means this is the hybrid user. We have gone with the PHS, so what it will do, it will apply the same algorithm on the supplied password. Whatever the password is used by user to log in, it's gonna calculate the hash value of that. And the concept of the hash is, if same input and same algorithm is being used, there will be always same output. So it's gonna calculate the hash value of that. And then further, it will match the hash value which is synchronized from on-premises one. If two hash values are same, it means user is trying to log in with the correct username and password, means this is the right user. So further authorization will be done, and that user will be given the access on whatsoever the resources has been configured to that. That's a PHS. So if we go with the PHS, even it is a hybrid user, I mean say on-premises user, Azure Active Directory gonna perform authentication if that user access something from cloud. There is one more authentication method we have been given in, that is called PTA. That is called pass-through authentication. If we talk about this pass-through authentication, no form of the password is synchronized. Last time, the hash value of the password was synchronized. In case of PTA, no. Only the user account will be synchronized. So if that user access any cloud application, now Azure Active Directory does not know the password of that. So what it's gonna do, it's gonna encrypt that authentication request, and via agent, it's gonna send that to on-prem environment. Means on-premises DC or Windows-based DC gonna perform authentication. Whatever the authentication result is, whether it is authentication successfully done, username and password is not correct, combination of the username and password is not correct, account is disabled, password is expired. So whatever the authentication result is, your DC gonna share that authentication result via agent to Azure Active Directory. And based on the response received from DC, Azure Active Directory further gonna do the authorization, or it gonna decline the login or the access of that user. That's the PTA. For redundancy purposes, it is recommended to have the multiple agent, which gonna redirect the request from Azure Active Directory to on-prem. Okay. In case of PTA, on-premises Active Directory, means ADD is gonna perform authentication, not Azure Active Directory. Even that user accessing cloud application. There is one more alternate option, that is called federation. Azure Active Directory can hand off the authentication process to any third-party federated service. For that, we do have the two options so far. One is a ADFS, and another option is also available when you install it, that is a pin factor. So that is the optional part of your Azure AD Connect. It can rely the authentication and authorization being done, authentication process is being done in a ADFS. So can leverage the ADFS capabilities of it. So these are the different options we have been given for the authentication. There is one alternate options we have been given for Azure AD Connect, that is called Cloud Sync. Okay, so whatever we were doing in Azure AD Connect means we were installing the machine on premises. On that machine, we were installing the tool and then configuring that all stuff. With Azure AD Connect Cloud Sync, provision from AD to Azure Active Directory is orchestrated in our Microsoft Online Services, as it says Cloud Sync. So we only need to deploy the on-premises and IaaS hosted environment. And then further, we're going to have that agent on Azure Active Directory, or I would say ADDS. No need to have that machine which is going to synchronize that all stuff. So that all synchronization will be done from cloud environment. That's a solution, or that's an offering from Microsoft, which which gonna provide us or gonna meet the hybrid identities goal to synchronize users, devices, groups, objects, or I would say there can be some contexts as well. So you can use the cloud-based solutions as well rather than going with the Azure AD Connect. Authentication method, 3 options are there. I'm going to bypass the slide. Let me know if there is any questions related to this federation concept. I would say some your authentication process. Okay. Sometimes people ask the questions which one we should go with. So we have been given authentication decision tree. We can ask some questions to ourselves, and based on the answers, we can go with which of the solution I should go with. So cloud authentication is the one which is done by Azure Active Directory. Okay. The other options we have been given in there. So there can be some questions like, okay, do we want Azure Active Directory to handle sign-in request completely in Azure Active Directory? If answer is yes, then what is the solution? EHS. But further question can be asked, do we want to enforce user level Active Directory sign-in policies? Based on the yes and no, you can take the decision. Okay, and this decision tree is available on MS Learn, means the online book we have been given that you can access using this link aka.ms/course and then put the course code here. Course code is AZ-500. This is how you can access the book. You replace the code here, you can access the book for the other courses as well. So this decision tree is available on MS Learn. You can simply read it. Simple text is there. Based on yes or no, you can decide which of the solution you should go with. Password, hash authentication, PTA, or you want to go with the federations one. So as far as the synchronization is one direction only. Means ADDS object will synchronize to Azure Active Directory. I want as SSPR has been enabled, self-service password reset feature has been enabled. So the hybrid user, if those hybrid users change the password while accessing any cloud solution, we want that password should synchronize back to your on-premises one. By default, it is not enabled. If we want to have that stuff, we have been given a password write back feature. That's a feature which is gonna synchronize password back to on-premises. I mean, say from Azure Active Directory to ADDS. Okay, and to enable that feature, we need to have a premium license of Active Directory, and there are total 3 stakeholders that all should be aware about that. What those 3 stakeholders are? One is Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory should know about that. And the ADDS is the another stakeholder that on-premises DC should know Azure Active Directory can synchronize the password back to me, and I should accept that. The third member or third stakeholder we have here, that is your Azure AD Connect. So Azure AD Connect also should know I need to synchronize the password back to on-premises. So these are the total 3 component need to configure. So password write back is just to synchronize the password from Azure Active Directory to on-premises one. And how we can enable that? We need a premium license, go in a Active Directory, Blade, and there we get the password reset feature or password reset page. Go in there. SSPR is enabled. When you will here, you'll get the on-prem integration. That feature you need to enable here. As I'm not using premium license of Active Directory, so this option is not available. Okay, so go in there, enable that. And then further, same thing we need to do on Azure Active Directory. The on-premises one, you need to go in a user and computer blade, that is called DSA as well, DSA.msc. Okay, enable advanced features in a view menu, and then you can enable for the same on that Active Directory domain. Right click on the domain and then go in a security tab. Okay, we have been given a tutorial for the same on MS Learn. Sword right back. Quick start or tutorial is that. And check if this is the right page. Enable SSPRs. Yes, you'll go here. When you'll go in a password reset, there you'll get the option of on-prem integrations. Enable SSPR, and then further on-premises integration option is there. There you need to enable. Further job you need to do. Oh. Yeah, this is the console. So enable that on-prem integrations, and then same job you need to do for on-premises environment. See, this is the tutorial. As I said, you have to go in a DSA.msc console, and these are the few property you need to change. So log in on Active Directory user and computer systems, advanced features. There, once you enable advanced features, you'll get the security tab, and there you need to set these settings. You send it user object, password reset. So that will help you out. So start from here to this one. Let me send it in a checkbox. Further, identity protection. What this identity protection is? One more feature given in Azure Active Directory. As in the starting of the discussion, I said earlier, when we used to have the things on premises, corporate network used to be security perimeter. Security used to be comparatively simpler, because the basic concept we had or we used to have, whatever is in on-premises means within the corporate network, that is trusted, that is secured. Anything coming from outside, that we need to authenticate. That we need to verify. So the full focus of the security guys used to be on corporate perimeter or the network, I would say, which is not anymore now, because things are hosted on the cloud, and when we say public cloud, things are hosted outside of the corporate network. We have been given the data centers, we have been given the regions where things are hosted. So how we can manage the security now? So corporate network is not the security perimeter anymore. Identity is the new security perimeter. Okay. What identities we talk about? User account, group account, and all that. Because if we are using the cloud service, we have been given a common portal, portal.azure.com. I'm a part of X organization, you are a part of Y organization. We both gonna use portal.azure.com. Identity is the one which gonna differentiate the thing. I will be using Bhaskar at virtual hands.in. You're gonna use whatever the user account you have been given to. So let's focus on the identity. Make it secure. How we can make it secure? We have been given some features for this. Okay. One feature is there that is called Azure Active Directory Identity Protection. So that's a feature, as its name suggests, it's gonna protect our identities. It allows the organization to automatically detect and remediate the identity risk. We can investigate the risk using the data in the portal. If required, we can export the risk detection data to third-party utilities for the analysis purpose. How it works, people ask, or there is one FAQ I generally get in a class, especially in a AZ-500 classes. People ask the question, how we can define the policies to calculate the risk. As it is written on official document, we can create the policies. So when we read that, we get the impression we can create the policies to calculate the risk. Okay, we are doing X task that's going to induce the high risk. Y task going to induce the medium risk. Z task going to induce the low risk. No, we cannot define the policies to calculate the risk. So the question is how it works. It works on basis of machine learning. Microsoft analyzes 6.5 trillion signals on daily basis. And whatever the learning they get by analyzing these many signals, they use that learning for the security tools they have been provided to us, or they have given to us. Like your Azure Active Directory identity protection, we have n number of the Defender solutions, be it your Defender for endpoint, Defender for identities, Defender for Office 365. So many Defender solutions we do have. So many features we do have available in the name of the security. So that learning which they get by analyzing 6.5 trillion signals daily basis, Azure Active Directory Identity Protection uses that learning. The learning which Microsoft has acquired because of its position in our organizations, thanks to Azure Active Directory, thanks to Microsoft accounts, Xbox. Microsoft has an ecosystem, right? And if you refer the privacy document of Microsoft, it clearly says, we'll not analyze your data to target ad to you or to look for the cross-sell or upsell opportunities, but we're going to analyze your data to make your experience better, to launch the more promising features for you. They analyze the data. So they claim to analyze 6.5 trillion signals per day to identify and to protect the customers from the risk, from the threat. What does it mean when we say we can define the policies here? We can policies when we define, we're going to define the risk level we are okay with. As different all the organization may have the different risk appetite. Some of the organization are okay with the low risk. Some of the organization are okay with the medium risk. But if you are in a banking sector or like some secure sectors, they are not even okay with the low risk. So what risk level we are okay with, what in response of that risk, what action we want to take, that is something we can define when we say policies, we can create the policies. It's going to calculate the risk, and then based on the risk, we can define the protection we want to apply. Okay, what type of the activities it's going to check it out and going to calculate the risk. So there are different things we have in place. Like some anonymous IP address is used. There is a sign-in request from anonymous IPs, like someone using Tor browser, anonymizer VPN is using. There is an incident of atypical travel, someone using or someone trying to log in from malware-linked IP addresses. You always log in from India, and all of a sudden there is a login request from South Africa or somewhere else. So unfamiliar sign-in properties found in there. So based on these all things, they calculate the risk. Leaked credentials means Microsoft, as Microsoft security expert, analyze the thing. They analyze the signals daily basis. They take the help of dark wave as well. And if there is an indication of leaked password or leaked credential report, they just calculate the risk based on that. If password spray attack is noticed, these all factors actually helps to calculate the risk. Once risk is there, we can define what risk we are okay with, what we are not okay with. So identity protection can calculate if it is like okay, it can calculate if it is a normal behavior or sign-in activities is done by attackers. They just try to check it out first. Okay, so as an administrator, we can take the decision based on the risk score signals we want to enforce our organization with that. So we can block the access, we can allow the access, we can allow access only the specific only if the MFA is performed. Okay, so we have been given a sign-in risk policy is something which detect the suspicious actions that come along with a sign-in request or sign-in task. So it's gonna focus on sign-in activity itself and gonna analyze, is there any possibility that sign-in may not have been performed by the user itself, someone else is doing that. So for that it's gonna check it out if sign-in request is from unfamiliar location, unfamiliar IP address is being used based on that. So detect the probability. So define the risk level like, and then risk will be calculated. MFA is the additional thing you can use with that. If you're not okay with that thing and you want to give the access to the user, either you can block the access or if you allow the access. Based on a specific condition as well, you can allow the access. Like if that login request from hybrid user account, the hybrid device, if that login request from login request is there and the user is able to perform MFAs, whatsoever the MFA method you have configured, you can just go with that. MFA concept we talked about, something we know, something we are, something we have. These are some additional information is asked at the time of login, that user or that identities. How we enable that? We have seen that. We have covered the demo. We go in a users page. There we get the per user info. Additional option, we can go in a conditional access that is available in enterprise application and available in a security phase as well. This is what I'm talking about. So Azure Active Directory. There we have a enterprise application.
Questions regarding what's going on? Are we good? Are we good to call it lunch?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have like a 50 minutes lunch and see you all in 50 minutes. That's like 12:45.